Perfect. Hello. So hi, everyone. We're Team 6. And we have built Commusicly. So before we get into the product, we need to talk about why it exists. The music industry has never been more connected. So why are artists lonelier than ever? Behind all the streaming numbers, algorithms, and advice on how to go viral, there's a real problem. So many musicians feel completely alone. 25% of them don't know anyone else in the industry. And we all crave real human connection. Sometimes you just need to be in a room with someone who gets it, who gets what you do, where you are in life. But there are so many barriers to finding and meeting those peers. The problem isn't talent, it's isolation, and there's no existing tool solving it. We've spoken to artists about it, we've seen it, and we've heard this theme throughout this weekend's conference. So we've built something to fix it.
That's why we are super excited to introduce you to Commusicly. Commusicly connects artists in real life so they can support each other while navigating the complexity of the music industry. If you're an artist, you might be thinking right now, oh no, another item in my to-do list, another app to keep up with. But this is not the case with Commusicly. We just ask you some initial questions to understand your needs. We combine that with charmetic data to understand your current stage. You choose your preferred messaging platform, and you will soon be hearing from us with curated in-person meetups with other artists. For instance, let us introduce you to Admire, an amazing artist from Barcelona and the very first user of Commusicly.
Admire logs into the platform and gets prompted with 2 questions that she answers through voice notes.
I want to find healthier ways to sustain myself through the highs and lows. I love creating music videos and I direct them myself, so I believe I could be a valuable advisor to other artists.
Based on the voice note, we get to know Admire and find her chart metric profile. She sees a summary about what she's seeking advice for and where she's happy to help. We find similar artists in similar industries and maturity, compare their wishes and schedules, and find them a spot at a table in a restaurant in Barcelona. From the 2 suggested options, Admire picks Tuesday morning, and we confirm via her favorite platform.
So why us specifically? So Commusicly puts artists in a room based on compatibility. So meetings are always completely intentional and data matched. We know that social media can be very overwhelming. When you look at someone's follower count, it creates a power dynamic, and we want to remove that judgment completely on the back end. Most importantly, we understand that artists are already doing so many things for their career, they're wearing so many hats, so we didn't want to create another app. We have an AI chatbot that meets you exactly where you are using chart metric data.
So in the 24 hours we had, we reached out to the community and received feedback directly from our target market, which are emerging musicians. They reiterated the themes of isolation and loneliness, as well as commenting on how barriers to the music industry were their main cause of feeling the way they did. Out of that sample, we received a high take-up rate. The response was super positive, and they said they definitely use Commusicly.
The platform is free for artists always, and that's non-negotiable. Everyone else will pay for proximity to them. So it's not ad space, it's relevance. Data will stay anonymized and aggregated, and it will feed back into the community too. Artists will get to see things like what's trending in their genre, what conversations are happening across the scene, and so on. In terms of acquisition, we would start with the first 50 artists being invited, real engaged artists who are building something really tangible with their own careers. So the platform's reputation will be set by those earliest members, so we'll be really deliberate about who that is before then seeding out to other places. People are already looking for something exactly like this. They just don't know it exists yet. So yeah, that is essentially, that's Commusicly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can actually access the landing page if you want by scanning this QR code, and you can actually sign up for the waitlist of Commusicly so it can reach new cities.
Thank you guys. You did amazing on time. We still had 15 seconds left. I'm going to add the judges to the stage to ask a couple of questions. Daria, how about we start with you? Do you have a question?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Quick question. You mentioned that anyone else would have to pay for the access to the tool. So who's anyone else that you're referring to, and what's their motivation to join the service?
So, I mean, initially we would likely just start with grants, but if we wanted to or needed additional funding, then to keep the platform always free for artists, we would explore the idea of, you know, labels or industry organizations that might want access to the aggregated data, just sort of maybe showing trends across what artists are, you know, looking for help on, or what they, you know, what they feel like is missing in their communities and so on. So it's kind of that direct access to artists, basically. Exactly what that will look like would be something, I guess, that would kind of come through conversations over time, but that sort of initial thinking is there, that that there will be interest in some of this data, because it's a lot, it's kind of more in depth, I suppose, than some of the, like, it's not just streaming data, it's real thoughts and feelings about how they are feeling and what they need.
I see. And I suppose you'll get that information based on the initial application from the artist via voice note or anything else.
Yeah, exactly that. So the chatbot interface with the initial questions, you know, in theory, it can be that one touch for the artist, but also they might decide after 6 months that there's some other stuff that they're really interested in, so they can always update and chat with it again. So we wanted to make the barrier to entry for them really low, and not involve, you know, an extra app and things like that. But you know, they are able to update things over time if they want to. They could use it as just purely social, but they could also, you know, they might be looking for advice on certain things that other peers can provide. It's kind of, you know, we're creating that community, that peer mentorship space, and the connection. But it's up to them. It's really kind of self-driven of like how they use it, whether they use that to find certain information, so therefore they can update it if they want to as well.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Blessing, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. So I was going to say, like, this is fantastic because it really borders on what's really going on, you know, especially with artists, and peer-to-peer advising and mentorship is cool. But I guess my first question would be, not to be, when you build things like these, like when you try to connect humans, you also have to try to look at the flip side of things. So I wanted to know if you had pressure tested this, in the sense that, what if a meetup goes bad? You know, how, you know, how do you authenticate, validate the identity of who's an emerging artist? Because that's a very, you know, interesting spectrum. So it's like, how do you know, like, what is there some form of threshold, some form of KYC of sorts that can sort of ensure that whoever it is that is being signed up or signed in, you know, are cool people, are sure, you know, nothing's going to go wrong? One. Secondly, you know, how do you mitigate, you know, what if a meetup goes wrong? Like, what role would Commusicly play in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've thought this through. So safety will be built into the design from the beginning. So initially, at the moment, they sign up with their Chartmetric, you know, accounts and data. So there's some level there, just real initial, of, you know, they are a real artist. They exist from that perspective. But obviously, you're, you know, the sort of but also you've got to think about, the verification before you're meeting people in real life. So that's why we've thought about it in a group setting, not one-on-one. That's why we plan to have venue partnerships. So you know, we're deciding the venue's aware of what's going on, so you've got some level there, and that will always be public. No one's getting each other's contact details. It's all kind of run through the platform, like turn up at this place at this time, and you know, you'll meet some people. You're not receiving their phone numbers, things like that. You can choose to share those, of course, when you're there, but not ahead of time. You can cancel without any explanation being needed. Again, group format really helps with that, because you're not going to end up only having one person turn up. And if something goes wrong, there's a real person to contact. So, you know, they can just text on in the same messaging that got them there. If there's something that's really wrong, like we would be able to, the venue is aware of what's going on. Like there's certain aspects that we can control. Obviously, real life meeting up, it's there's always going to be a risk, but we've tried to mitigate as much as we can by building those kind of factors in.
Okay, I think that's cool. I just sort of wanted to mention, are you leaning to be non-profit or social enterprise? Because this is going to need it's a platform that's going to need quite some tech, support, and that's money, and that's, so are you leaning to be non-profit, or are you looking at social enterprise? Because that will define how you finance this.
That's a really good question, actually. I think we thought about we've thought about sort of different ways to sort of commercialize this. So whether that is partnerships with the venues, whether that is partnerships with brands that would like, I think a lot of brands at the moment are really focused on in-person activations. So you can have that kind of sponsorship coming from, sponsored by X or Y coming in as well. So I think we hadn't actually considered it running as a non-profit. We'd gone straight into thinking about like just sort of commercializing it. But I think there was partnerships that could be on the cards with with charities that already exist to that focus on sort of mental health, whether that's mental health for artists specifically, or even sort of broader, that we could consider as well. So yeah, that's a good question, but there's a lot of factors we thought of, not that particular one.
Thank you, Team 6. I'm sorry I have to cut you there.